Hey again, YouTube. StickGuy187 back with a scenario video for you this time. I'm simulating a car breakdown in western Saskatchewan in the wintertime. Now, out on the prairies, one of the biggest things you got to worry about is wind. Now, if your car breaks down, like I always say stay close to it if you can. So what I've done is the car's broken down near an old homestead. I've actually pushed the car into the front of the driveway of this homestead. I've walked down the path and I've left markings along the way, sticks in the shape of arrows, a couple of yellow t-shirts on trees for color and contrast, and I've basically made a shelter in the tree surround around an old farmstead house. Now the reason I'm not using the farmstead house itself is it's not actually safe enough to enter this house. I think it was built around the 1930s and it's pretty much fallen down. If I sleep in there, I run the risk of a widowmaker coming down on my head or anything like that. So what I've done instead is I'm in the tree surrounds, which is caraganas, dogwoods, and poplars. And I'm going to do a little shelter around here. I'll get a fire going and I'll cook up some emergency food that I carry with me at all times. So I'm going to set the camera aside. I'm going to set up the preliminaries of my shelter. And I'll come back and we'll show you guys what I've done. So as you can see, I basically selected a spot that's in and amongst the caraganas and the dogwood. That'll give me a decent windbreak from where I am, but I'm going to improve it. The first thing I've done is I've actually started clearing out the snow in and around the ground, just around here, with a shovel I always keep in my car. Just a standard folding shovel with a pickaxe and a saw blade on it. And as you can see, I've already started laying out the sticks that I'm going to use to make a windbreak fence there. There's going to be another one over there. And while I've been gathering the sticks, I've also been looking for kindling and anything that I can use for a tinder bundle or anything like that. So I found some dry grass nearby, and I've just hung it up in the sun to get it almost completely dried out. And we'll see how that works for making a fire. So as you guys can see, I've started a weir wall, or part of the structure wall of mostly my shelter. I'm building it fairly low to the ground. It's only about 2.5 feet off the ground right now. And then I'm going to put a Mylar reflecting blanket over top of it towards my shelter so that will reflect the heat down as well. If the Mylar blanket is also big enough, I'll move it down so that it covers the back portion of this shelter too. The reason I'm doing this rather than a complete wattle wall or a weir wall or whatever you want to call a stick shelter is I've got plenty of snow to work with here. It's light snow. It's not going to take me very long to get it shoveled up, so I've got a nice strong wall against the wind. The other thing is a lot of the stuff that I'm finding, you can see that some of the materials is green, some of the materials is dry. I want to try and keep as much dry wood as I can to feed that fire all night long. So yeah, we'll come back in a minute. As you can see, guys, this is essentially like making a snow fort when you were a kid. The weir, or the wattle wall, whatever you want to call it. I've started packing snow on it. Snow's a great insulator, you know, it's only like 20% water and the rest of it's air. But I am packing it down, which will remove some of that insulation. So you basically pack it from the front, and then you can go around, and you also should pack it from the rear. The reason I'm building this kind of shelter rather than a long-term survival shelter or staying with the car is this scenario is the car won't start. If it doesn't have a heater, then if you stay in the car, it will wick away all your heat. So what I'm trying to do here is to create a shelter that I can have fire for heat, I can have the Mylar blanket to reflect the heat down on me, or I can wrap the Mylar blanket around myself to keep my body heat inside. If I need to, I can always get up in the middle of the night and do some squats or do some exercises just to get my core temperature back up, and then go back to sleep after feeding the fire. So we'll come back in a couple minutes and I'll show you what the finished wall looks like. Alright, so I've been working on the shelter for probably a little over an hour. That wall is about as good as it's going to get. I've added an additional layer to the top, just so now it sits basically over 3.5 feet tall. Now I can actually sit down in front of it and the wind doesn't touch my head. And as you can tell, I've started the weir wall on this side, and I've started making it a bit more substantial than what you saw here. The reason for that is the wind is actually picked up and it's coming out of the northeast, which is where that one side is pointed. I don't actually have very much wind coming out of the south or the southwest, so I might even be able to get away with just having the two walls, though I would recommend building a third as a just in case, and if I have enough time and enough daylight, I'll do that. Alright, so we'll come back in a little bit when I've added a bit more to this left wall. Okay, so this is the finished, well, mostly finished portion of my shelter. This is that first wall you saw, and then the second wall. Like I said, with the wind coming out of the northeast, I might not actually have to do up a third wall, but I am going to lay some boughs down so that if I need to do up a third wall, I can slap it up really quickly. And then I will lay down some insulation on the ground, which is a little hard to discern here, but it's that mucked up area down there to get me off the snow, and then we'll get a fire going, and hopefully it won't be a freezing cold night. It's pretty windy right now, but we'll see. So here we've got the final shelter. Right now it's really just a windbreak. I'm going to do up the fire right in front and just keep it nice and low and keep some heat in here. I did put up some boughs just along this one wall, and it's keeping the wind out quite well, considering most of the wind is from over there. Both these walls are actually keeping the wind out really, really nicely. So I'll do up the fire and we'll see how it is tonight. In case you're wondering, I'm not laying on the snow. That's a really bad idea because the snow will just suck the heat out of it. What I've done is I've gone around and I've grabbed some of the green carriganas, some of the green poplars, basically anything that was green, and I've chopped off some boughs, and I'm going to use the sticks for the base for the fire to keep it off the snow, and I'm laying on most of the boughs, so I'm going to put some more down just to keep me off the snow a bit. The reason to use green boughs is twofold for me. One, it's a hell of a lot more comfortable on green boughs than the dried up ones, because obviously they flex a little bit. And two, safety. With the fire that close, if I'm on dry wood, you know, bad stuff could happen. So let me get the fire going, and hopefully I can get that going before the sun goes down. It looks like we've got about an hour and a half left before the sun goes completely down. And hopefully I can get that fire going and have some warm food. So we'll be right back in a couple minutes. So finally was able to get a fire going. Couldn't do it with an OB tampon and a spark, but I used a candle match, which I will show you guys a video about a little bit later. Just got some snow melting over a low simmering fire. Got some big monkey logs that will feed into the fire and just feed it in little by little. To get this fire going, what I had to do was, let's see if I can get this on without disturbing the fire, put down a base of these green, knock over my fire and don't put it out, put down a base of the green wood, and then try to start the fire on top of that. The reason you have to use green is that way it doesn't burn and just soak everything out. So we'll come back to you in a little bit, and hopefully I've got this melted. I can have some coffee. Hey guys, it's something like 9 or 10 o'clock right about now. If you're wondering where the light's coming from, I've got my iPod set up just so that I could film this. And actually, as it turns out, this homestead has electricity because there's a light that came on, thankfully, at dark. So I'm not totally reliant on the fire for light. There is some light in the distance. I can actually see other farms. So obviously, I could always effect self-rescue by walking to one of those farms tomorrow. So yeah, I got the little fire going. Every once in a while it's been dying down, so I've been using the little secret weapon, if I can pull it out of my damn pocket, hand sanitizer. I always carry some of this with me, either in the med kit for sanitizing wounds or, you know, just because I'm out in the field. And you spray a little bit of that on the fire when it gets really, really low, because of course I've been nodding off and forgetting to add some wood to the fire, and it flares right back to life really quickly. I've got my pot with some snow in it near the fire this time rather than on top of it, because I don't care about getting it boiling. I just want it to melt the snow so that I've got something to drink, because of course eventually the water that was in the Boda bag that was hanging here will run out and I'll need to rehydrate. So yeah, not super comfy because these got really hard, but hopefully I should be able to stay warm enough all night long. I haven't actually needed to pull out the Mylar blanket. You can probably see my breath a little bit, but it's only about it's -2 Celsius, so that's what, 30? Around 30, 29 degrees, something like that. So yeah, we'll I probably won't film any more tonight. I'll probably film some more tomorrow morning, and we'll see how this held up and how I held up. So, see you guys in the morning. Fire's gone down to pretty much nothing. All I've got is some hot coals and hopefully this fibrous, punky wood. Need some more of that fibrous wood in here. Let's get this going again. That's wet. A bit of a windbreak around the wood using some wood. Give me a chance to dry out my gloves. That's about it, guys. I'll probably have to do this a couple more times. There's some thistle nearby that I'll probably go gather right away, and hopefully I can use it to put on my gloves. Thistle is thorny as hell, but I should be able to use it to if I need to blow the fire back to life again. So, see you in the morning. So how was it, guys? Well, it was uncomfortable. I didn't make the shelter very big just so that I could keep the heat of the fire in and to keep most of the wind out. So I had to sleep kind of crouched up a bit, so it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. Plus the boughs that I use have compressed down over time. In fact, right now I'm sitting on my gloves so that I can keep my ass off the ground. Because yeah, I don't want to freeze my ass off literally as I walk to the nearest farm, which is actually only about a ½ kilometer in that direction. In most situations, if you break down on the highway or even on a grid road or anything like that, you should be able to stay with your vehicle, set up some sort of sign, hazard lights, anything like that, and someone should come along relatively quickly to help you out. If you do have to shelter, obviously you can use the shelter like I used last night. I'm no survival expert by any means. This was something that was taught to me a long time ago, and I thought I should share it with you guys. And yeah, it's always a fun experience trying to see whether or not what you've learned actually works. So I'm just waiting for this snow to melt down a bit and get a boil going and melt the snow before I put it on the fire to boil, so that I can have some scrambled eggs and bacon, which is in my emergency pack, and of course, most important part of my survival kit, instant coffee. So that's about it, guys. Hopefully this helped you out. If you want more videos like this, please let me know in the comment section below. Please like this video, please share it as much as you want, and if you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to subscribe. I'm always welcoming more people. Thanks so much, guys. Until next time, I'm Stick Guy 187. Stay sharp and warm. Hey guys, just in case you didn't think I got it boiling. Nice boiling snow. The morning's first cup of coffee. Could be a little hot to drink.